Alright, Shalom. Coming to the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Bashem Rachak Dash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone who taught me this truth. And salutes unto the Arkim that continue to push the word in truth and in sincerity. And I just want to do this video based upon a dream, which is really a vision I had a couple of nights ago whilst I was in the bed. And as always, Barak Tahar Bashem Yashai Bashem Rachak Dash Tamyad. And it was coming towards the end of the night, and I'd woken up a few hours, earlier than the time I usually get up. And I went back to bed, and then when I'd gone back to sleep, that's when I had this vision. But I'd fallen back into like a deep sleep, but it was a vision. And pretty much it was a vision based upon Apostle Tahar, Apostle Elder Tahar. And in fact, the other apostles were in the vision. So Lord will, I'll explain it, and then I'll bring out some precepts. So yeah, it was like there was a room, like a room, and the room was kind of large, but it was empty. I remember it was a large room, but it was empty. And there was like a table, and there was nothing on the table, but Apostle Tahar was sitting at this table, right? It was like one of those white top hard plastic tables, and it was empty. And then the Apostle Tahar had given like a command and sent out the other apostles, to go and get stuff and come back in time. In the vision, that's what I perceived, that he had told them to go out and get stuff and come back in time. And to the Apostle Gabar, he said, I want to get it right because there was specifics to each of the apostles. So yeah, Apostle Tahar to the Apostle Gabar, Apostle Elder Gabar, he sent him out and he said, go and get the silver. All right. It was silver. I don't know if it was silver coins or whatever the case, what type of silver, but he'd sent Apostle Gabar to go and get silver and come back. And he said, come back in time. Then to the Apostle Rakar, Apostle Tahar said, go and get the garments. Like there was a large amount of garments that needed to be collected. So we'd sent out Apostle Gabar, Apostle Rakar to get the garments. Okay, and he said, come back in time. And then he said to the Apostle Aramlab, go and get the food. Okay. I don't know if the food was, but I don't know if it was prepared or he had to go and cook it, but the Apostles, Tahar said to Apostle Aramlab, go and get the food. And likewise, he said, and make sure you come back in time. Okay. And then pretty much all of the apostles, basically said, okay. And they left in a hurry to go to wherever they had to go to get the respective items that the Apostle Tahar had said go and get. And he said to them, I remember clearly, make sure you come back in time. Right? So it's like the room was empty. As I said, a big room, but it was empty, and there was a table, and Apostle Tahar was sitting at this table. So we sent out the apostles to go and get what they had to get. And in the vision, I was a bystander. I was in the room observing all what was going on. And then a tall man walked in. And he had a grey suit on. And I know we don't really you do the history on like the tie and everything, and you know how it basically is involved in paganism, and going back to the obelisks, and the rod and all that stuff. But for whatever reason, there was a very tall man, dark skin, with grey hair, but it was very low cut, maybe like a 1.5 all around, very low cut, grey hair, and a grey beard. And the beard, I remember, wasn't massive, but it wasn't small either. It was like a in the middle, halfway bushy type of beard. And very tall man, slender, and looked about in his early 30s. And he had a grey suit on, like a light grey suit on, with a crisp white shirt and a light grey tie. And he walked up to the table where Apostle Tahar was sitting. And the apostle like continued to sit, but he looked up at the man which was standing over him, and there was a look of not worry, but like heavy concern on the apostle Tahar's face. And the man began to speak to him, but I couldn't clearly make out what the man was saying to him. But nonetheless, they spoke for a little bit. And then the man had a briefcase, and the briefcase was very big and black, and he lifted it up and he like put it on the table. He didn't slam it down on the table, but he put it down, and he didn't put it down gently, let's just say it like that. And when he put it up on the table, I heard like a loud bang, like the briefcase dropping on the table. And then he opened it up, and he began to take out silver. It was all silver, but it was jewelry, like rings, bracelets for the wrists, chains, but it was all like, it was delicate pieces of jewelry, but varying in their sizes, but it was all silver. And he started off with the rings, and he gave rings. So he just kept handing rings to Apostle Tahar, and Apostle Tahar was putting it on all of his fingers. He started out with his pinky finger on his right hand, and he worked, all the way through his fingers on the right hand, and he went to the left hand and worked through all the fingers, and then his hands, all his fingers were full of rings. And then the man proceeded to take the chains and was giving him chains and chains and chains, like jewelry chains, and he was putting it on, he was giving it to the apostle in his hand, and the apostle kept putting it on. And then he put some bracelets on his wrists. So the apostle was like fully decked out. And after he finished putting the bracelets on his wrist, the silver bracelets, he proceeded, the man proceeded to take more rings out of the briefcase, and he was handing it to the Apostle Tahar, and the Apostle Tahar looked up at him and said, "Sir, I have no more space. I have no more space." And then the man just was like, "But you need it. And the Apostle Tahar said, "But I have no more space." So then he took back that last ring from the Apostle Tahar's hand, and he put it back in the briefcase, and then he closed the briefcase and put it on the floor. And then he proceeded to speak again, but this time I could hear what he was saying. And he was like, the Apostle Tahar said to the man, like, "You brought so much jewelry, but I'm the only one here, And after that, the man said, "So where are your fellows?" And at this point, I perceived he was speaking about the other apostles. And the Apostle Tahar said to him, "I've sent them out, one to get food, one to get garments, and one to get silver, And he said, the man said to him, "You've spoken well." And then he said, then the Apostle Tahar said, "I know who you are." you know, and then the man started to smile. Like at that moment, the apostle started to smile, because all this while he had like a nervous look on his face. But then he said, I know who you are. And the apostle done that little smirk thing that he does from time to time. And then the man started laughing and said, I know you well too. So the apostle said, I know who you are. And the man said, I know you well too. And they started laughing. Then the Apostle Tahar like stood up, because all this time he was seated at the table, and like they gave each other a brotherly hug, but it was like an intense, long hug. You know when you're hugging someone and you're tapping their back, like you're embracing them. Then the apostle sat down again, and then the man said to him, I brought you silver to adorn you, and you have no more space. All right? You've sent out your men, and they've gone to get what you've told them to get. But when they come back, they will have no more space. All right? And at that point, the apostle perceived that he was talking about the jewelry in the box, man, you know. And he said, what do you mean they'll have no more space? And he said, the same way I've given you and you have no more space, when they come back, I'll give to them and they'll have no more space. So basically he was saying at that point, I perceived in the vision, he was saying there was no need to send them out to buy food, to buy silver, or to get garments, because it's already been given and there's no more space. So anyways, now, one by one, I believe Apostle Aramlab came back and said he was unable to get the food. Then after him, Apostle Rakar came back and said he was unable to pick up the garments. And there was no reason as to why I wasn't able to pick up the garments. Then after that, lastly, Apostle Gabar came back and said, there's no more silver. And then they looked at the man, and then they looked at the briefcase, you know. And at that moment, they knew that all they needed was in the briefcase, okay? And when you could see the expression on the rest of the apostles' faces that they knew that all along it was in the briefcase, and it was more than enough. So they looked at Apostle Tahar, and Apostle Tahar looked at the man, and the man said, come. And then he adorned all of the rest of the apostles, the Apostle Gabar, the Apostle Rakar, and the Apostle Aramlab, with these the same jewelry, the rings and chains and hand bracelets and everything, and they were all decked out. Okay. And then the man said, what is left? And then the Apostle Tahar said, what is left? Like it was a rhetorical question, but the Apostle Tahar said, what is left? And then the man said, you can't, the next level, you can't perceive this. The next level requires change. Okay? He said, you can't perceive this. The next level requires change. Meaning that there's no more space on all of your bodies to take any more of the jewelry. The next level requires change. Okay? And at that point, they realized that this was a great man of the Lord, which had come to them. You know, I have my speculations on who that man in the vision was, but and the apostles have kind of made mention of things before, but in that moment they realized who it was. You know, leave it open to brother's interpretation. And basically they knew that basically this was the end, man, because the silver, the jewelry which was given to them, firstly to Apostle Tahar, was representative of the wisdom, knowledge and understanding of the truth. Okay. And pretty much what the angel, what the man was saying is that this is everything. For as much as you can take on this side, this is everything. There was no more space on your fingers. There was no more space on your wrist. There was no more space on your neck to take any more chains, rings, or bracelets. You've got everything. Okay? You know? And the reason, and then the man said to them, why is this room empty and ye four alone? Meaning the Apostle Tahar, the Apostle Gabar, the Apostle Aramlab, and the Apostle Rakar. He said, why is this room empty? Once again, he was a question to test, what the apostles would respond. And then the Apostle Tahar said, the room is empty because the men are out there. And once again, the man said, you've answered well. And I perceive that to be, the sincere brothers amongst Great Millstone and those who teach, the word in the spirit of Great Millstone, who might not necessarily be a part of Great Millstone, but those who teach the truth according to what is taught here at the Great Millstone. So, when the man asked the apostles, why is the room empty? Why are you in a big room and it's empty? Apostle Tahar responded and said, because the men are out there. Okay. And then the man said, you have answered well. And then he closed back up the briefcase and he said, I'll go now, but I'll be back soon. All right. And he said, don't take off the rings. Don't take off the chains. Don't take off the bracelets. All right. And then he walked up to because Apostle Tahar was sitting at the table, and then the rest of the apostles had just entered back in the room when they'd come back from being sent out. So they were still standing. So then the man walked over to the other three apostles, being Apostle Gabar, Apostle Rakar, and Apostle Aramlab. And he said unto them, there's no need to go out and find any more, for all was in the briefcase. Okay. And then he walked to the door, and then he looked back and he gave a smile and a nod, and then he went through the door. And then he left. And the apostles were just in that big empty room by themselves, adorned with all these silver delicate jewelries. And then the vision ended. And like I said, I have my guess of who that man was. I could be wrong. It's open to interpretation if brothers hear this. But pretty much the briefcase and the apostles being adorned with the jewelry, the silver pieces, is the scriptures, man. The wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And the reason why the room was empty is because the men who learnt from the apostles were out there teaching. Okay. And pretty much the apostles are the authority, starting with the Apostle Tahar, are the authority under the Holy Spirit on the earth right now. And pretty much, it's, the common saying is Great Millstone has 100% truth, which is indeed very correct and very true. But in this vision, the man in the suit was letting the apostles know that there's no more else to come. As in, there's no more new revelation. There's no more, there's nothing else you're gonna get. You've got everything now. You're only waiting for it to come to pass. But everything that you need up until salvation, you've got it now. That's why their hands were full of rings, their wrists were full of bracelets, and their necks were adorned with many silver chains. The jewelry, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that everything had been given. And because everything had been given, and they wore all those pieces of jewelry, hence why the faithful men were out there, which are the students of the apostles, were out there teaching the word. That's why the room was empty. And it was very vivid. It was very clear. And yeah, that was it. Now I want to get a precept, right? Just bear with me 1 second. This is let me see. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and 9, and it says, for I think that the Most High have set forth us the apostles last, as it were appointed to death, For we are made a spectacle unto the world, and to angels, and to men. So the last authority on the earth before the Lord Yahweh returns is before the Father Yahweh sends his Son Yahweh to return and bring deliverance and also destruction upon this planet. The last authority set up was the apostles. It says, therefore, I think that the Most High have set forth us the apostles last. You know, there's no more, there's not going to be we had like the elders, who taught our, apostle elders, and the bishop elders. You had there was various authorities over the times, in this last go round. But pretty much there's not going to be no rising up of another authority. The apostles are the last men, who have, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, delivered the full truth. Hence why the room was massive, but it was empty, because the full truth has been given to those who went out and taught. The apostles' necks couldn't handle any more chains, jewelry chains. The apostles' fingers couldn't hold any more rings, because their fingers were full of rings, their wrists were full of bracelets, and their necks were full of chains, man, jewelry chains, right? So everything had been given, man, and these men were sent forth last, man. And like I said, when the man initially came in to the room and approached Apostle Tahar, the apostle had a kind of almost worried look on his face, as if to say, have I done enough? But by the man like giving him and adorning him with all these pieces of jewelry, it was like a confirmation that what was given to you was complete and you can't take anymore. And as I did mention, the man said to him, there's more, but it requires change, meaning that we're going to be changed. The wisdom, knowledge, and understanding we have now is maxed out our brains, man. Okay? We can't handle anymore. All right? The next level, we have to be changed. Okay? And that is indeed the next level, man. Okay? So let me get that and I will close it out, because that was a very poignant line which I remembered from the vision. Pull it up. No, it's not that. Bear with me 1 second. Right. So this is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 51. Behold, I shew you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. So the man in the grey suit, said to the apostle, there's more, meaning that, like, in the kingdom, all the stuff we don't know, we're going to get. But as his fingers didn't have any more space to hold any more rings, as his wrist didn't have any more space to hold any more bracelets, as his neck didn't have any more space to hold any more chains, it meant that we've received as much as we can bear on this side, but the rest requires change when we're going to be getting those perfect bodies, those immortal bodies, as the scripture said, for we shall all be changed. So yeah, I just wanted to put this in video format. Abarat Azar, it's been edifying. But yeah, man, the apostles, starting with the Apostle Tahar, that is the true authority on the earth right now, man. And the Lord is pleased with those men. And the race they've ran and continue to run to this very day, man. And it was a pleasure to see. As I said, I was a bystander in this vision, but it was a pleasure to see that the apostles were in an empty room, because as they went on to say, because the men are outside, you know, this, week in, week out, man. We're out there, man. So their works didn't go in vain, man. But yeah, it was a beautiful vision. It was intense, but it was beautiful, and yeah, Lord willing, it was edifying, man. But the authority on the earth right now, through the Spirit and power of the Holy Spirit, lies with the apostles, man. And yeah, Lord willing, we all continue and endure to the end, because the scripture says, he that endureth to the end, the same shall be saved. So with that, I'll say Barak Hawa, Ba'ashem Hawashai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Kodash, and double honors sincerely unto the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom.